afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the 30th of June Council meeting. This meeting of the Liverpool Plains Shire Council is being live streamed to Council's website. And a webcast of this meeting will be published to Council's website at www.liverpoolplains.newsouthwales.gov.au so that it is available for viewing by members of the public. Can we please stand for Councillor Allen to recite the acknowledgement of country and council prayer, please.
Today we gather on the land of the Kamilaroi Nation. We therefore need to acknowledge the traditional owners and custodians of this land. We also pay our respects to Aboriginal elders, both past, present, and further extend that respect to every other adult who have joined us today. Council prayer. Lord, we ask that you watch over this council, guide us in our deliberations and decisions for the betterment of all the people of the Shire and Australia.
Thank you, Councillor Allen. Apologies, are there any apologies or applications for leave of absence? I think we've got one from Councillor Sinker. Do I have to move that?
Yep, just that it be accepted.
Oh, I'll move it. Can I move it? Have someone to move it to have that accepted, please? Councillor Cowan. Confirmation of minutes. The minutes of the council meeting held on the 28th of May 2025. The recommendation was that the minutes of the council meeting held on the 28th of May 2025 be received and the recommendations therein be adopted. Do I have a motion, please? Councillor Kane. Do I have a seconder, please? Councillor Lawson. Does the mover wish to speak to the motion?
No, thanks, Mr. Mayor.
Anyone else wishing to speak for or against the motion? If not, all in favour? Against? Carried unanimously. Thank you. 4, disclosures of interest. Are there any conflicts of interest in matters under the consideration of the ordinary meeting in accordance with Part 4 and Part 5 of the Code of Conduct? Councillor Kane.
Mr. Mayor, I provide services to the WC in areas of water and wastewater. In reviewing the June business paper, I do not believe there are any decisions that as a council I will be asked to make where I'll have any conflict. However, should any questions or discussions arise in relation to infrastructure and environmental services report, 8.1 water services page, 361 and 362. On item 8.4, provision of council control systems support, I will vacate the chamber during voting or discussion because of a pecuniary interest. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Kane. Anyone else? Thank you. 5.1, mayoral minute for May 2005. I would like to move that motion, please. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Lawson. All in favour? Against? Carried unanimously. Thank you. 5.2, the mayoral minute of the 20th anniversary of Blacktown City Council Plains Shire Sister City Partnership. I would like to move that motion, please. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Cowan. Does anyone wish to speak for or against the motion? If not, all in favour? Against? Carried? Thank you. 5.3, the mayoral minute for the 2025 Local Roads Congress. The motion, I'd just like to move the motion, please. Do I have a seconder? The motion is actually in the business paper, so it's not as if I'm not reading it out. Councillor Lawson. Does anyone wish to speak for or against the motion? If not, all in favour? Against? Carried unanimously. 6.1 Executive Services for May 2025. The recommendation that Council 1 receive and note the Executive Services report for May 2025. Do I have a motion?
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Lawson, second please. Councillor Kane. Does the mover wish to speak to the motion?
No, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Anyone else wishing to speak for or against the motion? If not, all in favour? Against? Carried unanimously, thank you. 6.2, the resolution register update. The recommendation that Council 1 receive and note the resolutions register as at the 18th of June 2025 as appended to Annexure A, and the resolution register for 2023 and 2024 as appended to Annexure B. Do I have a motion, please? Councillor Allen, seconder, please. Councillor Cowan. Does the member wish to speak to the motion?
No, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Anyone else wishing to speak for or against the motion? If not, all in favour? Against? Carried unanimously. 6.3 Adoption of Draft Strategic Workforce Management Plan. The recommendation that Council 1 adopt the Draft Strategic Workforce Management Plan appended at Annexure A. Do I have a motion, please?
Pretty slow this one.
Councillor Cowan, second please. Councillor Lawson. Does the member wish to speak to the motion?
No, Mr.
Anyone else wishing to speak for or against the motion? If not, all in favour? Against? Carried unanimously. Endorsement of draft community strategic plan. The recommendation of Council 1 pursuant to section 402 of the Local Government Act 1993 formally endorse the draft Liverpool Plains Shire Council Shire Community Strategic Plan appended at Annexure A. Do I have a motion, please? Councillor Robertson. Seconder, please. Councillor Lawson. Does the mover wish to speak to the motion?
No, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Anyone else wishing to speak for or against the motion? If not, all in favour? Against? Carried unanimously. 7.1 Corporate and Community Services Directorate Report for May 2025. The recommendation of Council 1 receive and note the Corporate and Community Services Directorate Update Report for May 2025. Do I have a motion? Councillor Lawson. Seconder, please. Councillor Robertson. Does the member wish to speak to the motion?
No, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Anyone else wishing to speak for or against? Councillor Kane.
Mr. Mayor, table 4, page 123 of the corporate governance. I'm just reading there, I'll just get that straight. Yeah. After the events and some articles that gained some traction in local media this week, we've actually said that we would be definitely selling the Royal Theatre in this document. I'm just wondering if we could add, possibly to this document, maybe add sale or leasing of the Royal Picture Theatre. As it sort of sounds after our workshops and our discussions that the council is just solely set on selling the facility, I think it would look a little bit better if we truly explain that we're actually looking for possibly a sale or someone leasing the premises.
Thank you, Councillor Kane. Is there anyone else wishing to speak for it? Councillor Lawson.
I missed that particular line in there earlier. It was definitely not that we were just going to sell the Royal Theatre. It was an EOY going out for possible options regarding sale or lease, depending on what's presented to us and on a lot of factors. So it is really concerning that it states that, because it would be giving the wrong impression out to the public of what we're trying to do. main catalyst for this was the unsolicited submission that we received, which was very attractive, and we've got to go through this public tender process to consider that. So, yeah, I think we do need to change our documentation on that so we're giving the right message. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Lawson. General Manager.
Thank you, Mr Mayor, and thank you, Councillors Kane and Lawson. I do apologise for the oversight. I can assure you the documentation that has gone to market is very much for the sale or lease of the Royal Theatre. Both options are on the table. The EOI is ongoing, and that closes, I believe, at the end of. No, it's closed last night. So that EOI has closed, and we will be progressing the evaluation later this week, and hopefully we'll be bringing our report to you soon. But yes, it's certainly documentation that went to market, as well as our media and public notices certainly reiterated this was an EOI for the sale or lease. So we do apologise for the oversight in this business paper. Thank you.
Thank you, General Manager. Anyone else wishing to speak for or against them? Councillor Kane.
Mr Mayor, just I have a question regarding the Table 1 Community and Recreational Services. After a little bit of discussion, quite a considerable amount of discussion through our workshops regarding the shade sales at the Werris Creek Memorial Pool. There's a simple report here, and I understand our Director is not here today. I believe funding has been allocated for the repair and replacement of those particular shades. As of today, I notice the shades are still laying in long grass, rusting away, as they were when they were removed. I'm just wondering whether we could ask, is there a commencement date on the supposedly repair and the replacement back in situ of those shades, as I can't see any mention in this particular report. Thank you.
Through the General Manager.
Thank you, Councillor, for the question. To the Director of Infrastructure.
Thank you, Thank you, Jen. So my team have been down there and we're working with Kudo Engineering to finalise a quote to repair or rebuild, as the case may be, because there is a lot of rust within those structures. So we're looking to remake them in the exact same specs, same size. We'll do the timber work internally, but we're looking to Kudo Engineering to reframe the steel parts of it to fix them up as part of these works. At this point in time, apologies, I don't have a date for it, but that's what we're working towards at the moment.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. It's that now we have an idea of moving forward as the term is used. It's just nice to see. I just didn't see anything there. I'm sure it was going to be screwed out anyway, because I just know if things run out long, things get tied to the very end. So thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Kane. Anyone else wishing to speak for or against the motion? If not, all in favour? Against? Carried unanimously, thank you. 7.2, adoption of draft combined delivery program 2026 to 2029 and operational plan from 2025 to 2026, including draft fees and charges scheduled for 2025-2026. The recommendation. Can I just, do I have a motion, please, for the recommendation? Councillor Lawson. Do you wish to change something in the recommendation?
Did you want me to read the motion? The motion that I'd like to move is the same as the recommendation, with the addition of a fee specifically for swimming clubs' exclusive use of the Werris Creek Pool on weekdays and weekends at a per hour rate of $100 per hour. I'll just read through the whole motion, if that's all right. The motion being that Council 1 requests the General Manager respond to each of the submissions received as appended at Annexure A. 2, pursuant to sections 404 and 405 of the Local Government Act 1993, approve the Combined Delivery Program 2026 to 2029 and Operational Plan 2025 to 26, including the Statement of Revenue Policy and Financial Information appended at Annexure B, and the fees and charges 2025 to 2026 appended at Annexure C, with the inclusion of the following fee: swimming clubs exclusive use, bracketed weekday and weekends, per hour $100. 3, pursuant to clause 211(2) of the Local Government General Regulation 2021, approve expenditure and vote funds as detailed in the Operational Plan 2025 to 2026 and financial information. 4, pursuant to section 405(6) of the Local Government Act 1993, place the Operational Plan 2025 to 2026 on Council's website within 28 days of adoption.
Thank you, Councillor Lawson. Do I have a seconder to that motion? Councillor Allen, please. Does the mover wish to speak to that motion? Councillor Lawson.
First of all, thank you to all the staff and their work in preparing these documents. The addition that was made was to reinstate a fee that had inadvertently dropped off the fees and charges schedule following a motion in 2022 from Council to establish that fee. The fee has now increased in line with costs. However, there was no provision for a specific per hour exclusive use fee for the swimming clubs. So this is to reinstate that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Lawson. Is there anyone else wishing to speak for or against the motion? Councillor Cowan.
Yeah, Mr Mayor, just a clarification in relation to the lighting fees that have now been introduced. That $22.50 per hour for competition lights, $11.25 per hour for training lights. And the document that went out to public view, were those particular charges detailed at that time in that document, and are the users who will be affected by those fees, have they now also been notified prior to the closing of what's the documents? Because I know now that the fees for the other users, which did previously include lights, now doesn't, and that fee still remains the same. I'm just wanting some clarification around it. I definitely agree with the proposal that's put for the fees that have been mentioned, but I just need to know if the other users that have agreements with council for the use of those grounds, that they've been notified of these extra charges that they will now face.
Through the General Manager.
Thank you, Mr Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Cullen. So my understanding is that was treated as an internal submission in relation to amending the lighting charges. I will refer to the Director of Infrastructure though in regards to the other user groups.
Though the user groups are not going to apply on this at this stage, so obviously we'll write if these are adopted at this point and let them know that contact some charges.
Thank you. Mr Scully, you happy, Councillor Cowan?
Mr Mayor, just the fact that they still have the same opportunity to make a submission, and they've been notified that they, I guess they noticed there's no change to their usual fee that they were expecting to receive for the use of lights and facilities. So yeah, they still be able to make a submission to council in relation to these if they wish to.
General Manager.
In short, no, these fees and charges will come into effect from tomorrow, but if we need to address anything within it, and that will bring that back to the next ordinary meeting. So if we engage with those groups and anything needs to change, that's when we'll do it at the next ordinary meeting.
Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Anyone else wishing to speak for or Councillor Robinson.
Just getting back to the Werris Creek pool being closed for maintenance in the off-season, I was just wondering what maintenance has been achieved so far.
General Manager.
Thank you, Mr Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Robertson, for the question. I believe we did provide a progress report on this project at the May Council workshop. So I will take the question on notice today, and I can provide a response at the next meeting, unless the Director wishes. Yep, the Director's nodding, so I will refer to the Director.
Thank you, James. So, Councillor Wilson, the work we've done at the Werris Creek pool today is we have relined the centre return line into the pool, so that's where we believe the vast majority of the leakage was occurring. We're putting that pressure return line, the line that comes out of the pool is the suction line, so it's less likely to have leaks. We did identify a number of broken joints in the feed holes back into the pool, so it goes under the shell of the pool, and then there's inch diameter holes, about 25 of them or so along the pool. So we've relined the entire water line run through there, and now we have got a contractor engaged to do the tiling, and they have commenced there, as I understand. They've started removing the existing tiling, and we'll be retiling the entirety of that shell as they're going through the line.
Anyone else wishing to speak for or against the motion? Councillor Kane.
Mr Mayor, certainly in favour of the motion. It's probably the first time council are going through this process, and I'll probably look at the camera because I'm somewhat disappointed in our community that they really don't show a great deal of interest in matters that affect them. There was an enormous amount of flack that I received regarding tip fees at the Crindai tip and the Werris Creek tip. Some of the fees to use some of the facilities, but when we read the report, there's basically just a handful of user groups that have actually made a mention. So it's interesting that this document is so large and so complex, and it affects every resident of our shire, but there's only very, very few people that go to the trouble to actually read it. It disappoints me. I know it's a big document, but I will congratulate the staff on producing it again. We had a few alterations and typos, and they've, as far as I can read, have been sorted out with our tonnage arrangements for the tip and whatever. But yes, as a new councillor, it's just a little bit disappointing that our community doesn't come back on board and maybe give us some feedback direct so we can make a change. Obviously, when we adopt these, then the feedback will probably come, which is a little bit late. So. But I will say congratulations to the management on producing the document, and I'll certainly support it in its fashion as when produced and submit. So, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Kane. Anyone else going to speak? Councillor Robinson.
Just while on the subject of tips or recycling, I'm just wondering about the internal audit risk management. You know, has that only come about since there was a bit of a landslip at Roadtree, or has it been ongoing? And how's that going for, to be finished in October?
With the General Manager.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Sorry, Councillor Robertson, are you looking at the previous report, the Corporate and Community Services Directorate report?
In table 4, see, I have some.
Yeah. So that, sorry, yeah. So we have dealt with that item, but just on that, so we have an internal audit program which is approved by our Audit Risk and Improvement Committee each year. We are required to undertake internal audits as part of business as usual, and internal audits are selected based on a risk rating. So we schedule our audits at the beginning of each year, and our internal auditor undertakes those, and those reports go to our Audit Risk and Improvement Committee. So that's how that's come about. And your second question regarding the waste facility construction, we will be including a progress report on that project for the next councillor workshop, which is next Monday. So you will be getting a comprehensive report on that project. Thank you, councillor.
Thank you, General Manager. Anyone else wishing to speak for or against the motion? If not, all in favour? Against? Carried unanimously, thank you. Seven point three, making of the rates and fixing of charges for 2025, 2026. Can I have a do I have a motion for the recommendation, please? So I'll be reading the whole thing unless someone wants me to read it. Do I have a motion, please? Councillor Lawson, do I have a seconder? Councillor Kane. Does the mover wish to speak to the motion?
No, thank you, Mr Mayor.
Anyone else wishing to speak for or against the motion? If not, all in favour? Oh, sorry, councillor Carroll.
Just one question in relation, I noticed our 190, note in there, the rate issue on that, is that still any idea of how long that will continue or when it may be changed to a different rating?
The general manager?
Thank you, councillor. The advice from our acting director is no, we don't at this stage know when that will change.
Mr Mayor, so for all intents purposes, our 25-26 rate on that particular property will still be rated at the $500,000.
Thank you, councillor. Through the mayor, I'll just invite our acting director to speak to that. Katrina.
Thank you, GM. To the best of my knowledge, the current valuation still stood until the 30th of June, and that is what the making performance has been fixed on, is the land valuation. We've not received any adjustment on that since the devaluation that occurred last year.
Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you. Thank you, councillor. Anyone else who speak for or against the motion? Oh, councillor Kane.
Sorry, it's just on a date. So that means we're lucky enough to actually receive in our regular year 26 that $500,000 basically on that mark. Yeah, okay. Excellent.
I'd assume they'd be able to make an adjustment, wouldn't they? But as I say, I've got no idea how land matters work. Anyway, we'll see what happens. Thank you very much. Anyone else wishing to speak for or against the motion? Oops, councillor Robinson.
Just getting back to the, that road, wouldn't it be still classed as a mine, even though they're in the period of rehabilitation?
I'm not qualified for that, so through the general manager.
Yes. Councillor.
Yeah.
It's, sorry, I can speak better. Thank you, GM. So because it's not producing, they're allowed to devalue the property because it's not a commercial venture. It's currently being rehabilitated, so they can't reclassify the land until they have finished the rehabilitation, is my understanding.
So I understand, say if it takes 20 years to rehabilitate, do we still receive the rates at the mining level for the next 20 years?
We base the rates on the land valuation. So if the mining company proposes to devalue the land and they meet whatever criteria the valuer general requires, then the property value will decrease.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else wishing to speak for or against the motion? If not, all in favour? Against? Carried unanimously, thank you. 7.4, adoption of a draft long-term financial plan for 2026 to 2035. The recommendation of Council 1, adopt the long-term financial plan 2026 to 2035 appended at Annexure A and 2, repeal the long-term financial plan adopted 26th of June 2024. Do I have a motion, please? Councillor Robinson, do I have a second, please? Councillor Cohen, thank you very much. Does the mover wish to speak to the motion?
No, thank you, Mr Mayor.
Anyone else wishing to speak for or against the motion? Not all in favour? Against? Carried unanimously. 7.5 Statement of Investments for May 2025. The recommendation that Council 1 receive and note the statement of investments as at the 31st of May 2025, as appended as Annexure A. Do I have a motion, please? Councillor Lawson, thank you. Second, please. Councillor Kane. Does the mover wish to speak to the motion?
No.
Anyone else wish to speak for or against the motion? If not, all in favour? Against? Carried unanimously, thank you. 7.6 Minutes of the Audit, Risk and Improvement Committee meeting held on the 16th of May 2025. The recommendation of Council 1 receive the minutes appended at Annexure A of the Audit, Risk and Improvement Committee held on the 16th of May 2025 and the recommendations therein be adopted. Do I have a motion, please? Councillor Cowan. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Kane. Does the mover wish to speak to the motion? Councillor Cowan.
Through you, Mr Mayor, just to note, and for everyone's interest to notice that the minutes of the Risk and Audit Committee have now been expanded a little to include some of the discussion that occurs between the independent members in relation to the various recommendations put forward. This is at the request of the chairperson of the ARIC at that time, and I commend the staff for now taking on board those recommendations from the independent members and the audit, excuse me, and the minutes as presented now hopefully will give you a little bit more insight into some of the discussions that take place at the ARIC. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cowan. Is there anyone else wishing to speak for Councillor Kane?
Excuse me, Mr Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Cohen, for explaining that as well, because I've never seen the detail that this has been produced in this document. So I have a question to Mr Mayor regarding the minutes of the Audit, Risk and Improvement Committee meeting that was held on the 16th. From the questions asked, will councillors actually see the reports that have been asked for, i.e. what will be submitted to the chair of the Audit, Risk and Improvement Committee? There was 2 questions asked. 5.9 regarding the Quirindi site daycare, and 5.10 which covered the Werris Creek Industrial Precinct Waste Management Growth Strategy and the insurance claim that we have going at the moment. So my question is, will us as councillors actually see that report as it goes to that committee, or will it go to the committee and then we will see it secondary? So it's just interesting that that it's been flagged or it's taken the attention of those members of that Risk and Audit Improvement Committee. So obviously it's something that hopefully our councillors are also involved in. Thank
you.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Sorry, I thought Councillor Collins was eager to answer for me. No, thank you, Councillor Kane, for the question. My view is that the business papers for the ARIC should be made available to councillors, and any reports that are provided to the ARIC, except for those that are confidential via the external audit, where the chair of the ARIC has a special statutory role. But all other reports, I'm very comfortable providing those to councillors.
Thank you, General Manager. Councillor Cowan. So, anyone else wish to speak for or against the motion? If not, all in favour? Engaged? Carried? Unanimously, thank you. 8.1 Infrastructure and Environmental Services Directorate Report for May 2025. The recommendation of Council 1, receive and note the Infrastructure and Environmental Services Directorate Report for the month of May 2025. Do I have a motion? Councillor Cohen. Seconder, please. Councillor Lawson. Does the mover wish to speak to the motion? Councillor Cohen.
Through you, Mr Mayor, just in relation to the work at Anfield, these impacts that seem to be continuing to occur and the delays that we see in getting this project progressed are very concerning in relation to our budget for this project. And I'd just like someone, if they could, to give us a little bit of information as to just what sort of an effect this may have in relation to the completion of this project.
Through the General Manager.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Or further questions to the Director?
Thank you, Jim. Thank you, Councillor Cullen. So obviously there are time delays every time we hit any later conditions. So all of the issues that we have experienced on that facility, on that project, have been, they're not exactly unforeseen because the risk assessment considered them, but they've been mandatory to fix to continue with the progression of the project. And they do involve delay costs with it. There has been no scope creep on that project. There is no additional work that's taking place there that is impacting it. And as the General Manager stated, we've got a detailed report coming to the Council at the workshop on Monday to discuss this in further detail. So it's still being finalised at the moment, so I can't talk to the exact detail that's within that, but it is a work challenge to try and get this facility up and running.
Thank you, Councillor John. Hang on.
Yeah, Mr Mayor, I just reserve any further questions for the workshop on Monday when we get some more detail.
Thank you, Councillor Cohen. Councillor Lawson.
Just a question on the Yarramouth Creek Bridge project. I just noticed there it says, the project manager scheduling to discuss some design changes. I was just wondering if we could have an overview of those were, because I understood that we selected a tenderer with the designs that were already finalised as part of that. So yeah, just have some understanding of that.
Through the General Manager.
Mr. Mayor, thank you, Councillor Lawson. We're talking about detailed design, so it's not a change of concept. So the design plans that were approved through the tender process were a design concept. So we're talking about minor details around how we deal with low flow, consideration of where higher flows would go, and how we approach it to the structural work. So it's not a change in concept, it's just a detailed design piece of work that goes with it to make sure that we cover off any risks that we would see in the construction of it, but also the maintenance and operation of it, which is important for our team to make sure that we're safe and they're going to maintain it.
Councillor Lawson.
Okay, that's fine, thank you. Yeah, it was just the word changes that triggered me to ask about that. So yeah, if we're talking about it in more detail, that's understandable.
Anyone else wishing to speak for or against the motion? Councillor Robertson.
Yeah, Councillor Lawson's brought it up, the design changes, and then further down it's saying he's working on the design. To me, they're, polar opposites.
Through the General Manager.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. So important to consider the stages of design. So what we get at the tender stage is a concept design. There's no detailed structural information on how they'll build it, what the strength of it would be, and nor at that stage have they considered what the hydrological impact would be outside of what we stated the hydrology, like how much water has to flow through it. So their design process, one, they have to validate that their concept design will take the flow rate that we require, and then we will question what level of blockage they've accounted for in that culvert to make sure that it is in line with engineering frameworks and things like that. So we don't want a structure that, if the engineering guidelines say 20% blockage is acceptable, then they need to design a structure that can flow the entirety of the water with that 20% blockage. Then we also need to look at the detail around how the low flows will be handled, so we prevent silting up of the culvert, so we don't have to go in and clean it in a confined space. So it's, when we say the design changes, it's part of the design process. We're going through considering what we need to do to make sure that we can safely operate it, we achieve the stated goals to improve resilience of Coonabarabran Road, and it will be structurally sound. So that's the process we're going through with them at the moment.
Thank you, Mr. Skilly. Anyone else? Councillor Robinson?
Yes, will that design look at debris gates to bring any material up onto the road and not block the culverts? Or is that too far down the future?
General Manager?
So that's part of the hydraulic analysis that they have to do. So they have to demonstrate that the structure will take the design water flow rate that we want it to take. How they achieve that is partially up to them. So if that's the solution they want to put forward to achieve it, then we would consider it. But then from that point of view, if it's lifting the debris up and over, the question would be, how does that impact the guardrail? Is it going to damage the guardrail? Does it block the road? Does that meet our resilience targets? I don't know, it's hard to say at this point in time, but that's part of their design considerations, yes.
All right, Councillor Robinson? Anyone else wishing to speak for or against the motion? Councillor Cullen?
Sorry, Mr Mayor, if you just have another question which relates to this flood damage claim, and I congratulate staff on the work there and the fact that we've now received or secured the additional money to correct those parts of the road network that needed work following the 22 flood. My question is, have any of those areas of, that have been approved there sustained any further damage, or will the costing to repair them be any greater following the recent flood event?
Through the General Manager?
Thank you, Councillor Cohen. I don't have that detail on hand at the moment. We have got a further claim in as a result of flooding on the 30th of March, was the most recent one that we've got. We haven't yet been declared for that event, so that's just part of how we have to work through it. And there's a possibility that yes, and then we would have to negotiate with the New South Wales Reconstruction Authority on how that looks when we do the repairs as well.
Thank you, Mr. Skelly. Anyone else wishing to speak? Councillor Robinson?
Yes, on that flood damage insurance claim, I really can't see how Pollocks Lane Causeway has been impacted to that extent. Like, having gone over that for the last 60 odd years and once or twice a week, probably go through it. But the whole thing is being reinforced with concrete for the last, because there was a concrete plant there for 40 odd years. Like, I just cannot see who does the judgment on these claims.
I think before Mr. Skelly comments, I think it's a great thing if the government are going to give us 1.4 million. We don't really care.
Yeah. But
So I wouldn't judge it.
well, no, but what I'm getting at is there could be other roads that need more funding more severely than, say, that one, or, the Yorks Road, like, it has no traffic, and then the people that have actually, they impacts actually bought the road and closed it down on the southern side, northern side anyway.
Yeah, they let our engineering crew do all that sort of stuff,
Yeah.
I think. But anyway, I'll let, through the General Manager, through Mr. Skelly.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So, Council undertakes the assessment. We then have to provide evidence based on the previous condition, the damage we experienced, and the estimate we believe it will take to repair that work. In the current guidelines, there are some consideration for betterment, which some of these does consider as well. So that's That's the process that's gone through. We have to submit it to the state government, they review it, they grill us on questions about it, and then they decide to approve it or not approve every individual work. They don't approve, like they approve the total number, but they approve every individual line item of work. So that's the process that's been gone through. So the state government agrees to this level of work, and we've demonstrated the damage that we experienced to that level.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Shelley. Anyone else wishing to speak for or against the motion? If not, all in favour? Against? Carried unanimously, thank you. 8.2 endorsement and adoption of Crown Lands Plan of Management and acknowledgement of native title and manager advice. The recommendation that Council 1 receive the Crown Land Plan of Management appended at Annex A and confirm that it is considered the native title manager advice appended at Annex B in relation to the plan of management. 2, adopt the plan of management pursuant to section 38 of the Local Government Act of 1993. Do I have a motion, please? Councillor Robertson. Do I have a second? Councillor Cowan, thank you. Does the mover wish to speak to the motion?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Robertson.
Some of the land is going to be very hard to work out who owns what and so on. We have different reports coming out from the same Crown Lands Office that contradict each other's and also other groups going around. How do we get to the final decision for this as soon as possible? Thank you.
Through the General Manager.
Through Mr. Mayor, so Councillor Robertson, the Crown Lands Plan of Management only covers parcels of land that we have been formally dedicated to be the manager of by Crown Lands. So at this point in time, that plan has been based on what Crown Lands have instructed Council we are responsible for. They've done all their research on it. If there's other stuff, if there's other parcels of land that may come up in the future, they would have to be considered as part of the future. But at this point in time, to the best knowledge that Crown Lands has given us, these are the parcels that we need to manage, and this is the plan on how we will manage them.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Skelly. Anyone else wishing to speak for or against the motion? Councillor Kane.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So, it's a long document, and I read it through and through, and it's a very old document. There's some stuff that's carried forward from 2010, etc. So, I'm a little bit lost on some of this. I go through it and, excuse me, my first question probably is what cost to council is this? Do we actually benefit or lose out of being managers of these parcels of land? I can understand that the land is given to us on trust and there's a certain criteria that what it's got to be used for, i.e. sports parks, shelters, etc., road reserves. So probably my first question is, does it cost us a lot of money to manage this, and in any way do we become reimbursed by any state body for it? And just the other one, it goes down into the document at 1 o'clock last night when I finally got to it on pages 454. It's just a little bit of concern. I can see that the users are all mentioned in that document, i.e. the users of the racecourse, the pony clubs, etc., users for halls from the Currabub and the advisory groups. I couldn't see any documentation regarding the Crindai RSL Club, and they are a major user of the reserve which we look after regarding the golf course. And there's also some documentation there indicating to me, the way I read it, on page 454, which I hope can be clarified later, but we can accept the document. But I just have some concerns. It sort of refers that we will be aiding and assisting in some capital works with possibly watering of fairways. I know we've gone down the road with the support of the drilling test drilling for water, which sort of mentions in that document too. As I said, the first date is 2010, so it predecesses my time. And the only other thing is there's another typo there that refers to Gulf Gold, which probably needs to be looked at, but with the name changes and the ownership changes, and it's as I said, it sort of somewhat confuses me, our involvement. If we lease a parcel of land, why then, if we leased it to a group, i.e. the golf club, I couldn't see that, I can't see any documentation that indicates that in this document. And also, if that was the case, other than giving approval for capital improvements or the legal requirement to drill or something, I can't quite see why as a council we are in any way involved in that parcel of land if we've passed it on to another user, and I suppose just upkeep of that name. I just can't see those particular items mentioned in that document. So if we move it here, there's have to have a chance to amend it and correct that documentation. As I said, if you take note on page 454, you'll see where it actually indicates the capital improvements, etc., that the council will be also involved in. That's a long question, but it's just a little bit grey to me, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
General Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Kane. That was quite a complex question. A lot of different aspects to it, but I'll begin with the simple part before I hand it over to the Director. And that was your very first question regarding Crown lands and the cost. The reality is we do manage quite a bit of Crown land. That is the same situation right across rural and regional New South Wales. The challenge for us as councils is that quite often some of our most important social and community infrastructure, like community halls, like caravan parks, like reserves, are all on Crown land. We do obtain funding when the New South Wales government is very generous enough to facilitate funding programs through Crown lands, where, and I'm not sure how much has been budgeted in the New South Wales government budget for this year. That is usually a competitive process where all Crown land managers, including councils, can actually compete for funding. Several years ago, we did quite well. I think Liverpool Plains got something like 50% of the total funding available in 1 year to do a lot of the work in the racecourse. So that is where we get funding from, in addition to our own funding. But in answer to your very first question was, yes, it does cost us money, but that is offset by the fact that we've kind of got to do it because it's important land and important infrastructure, and the government does give us funding from time to time to do improvements. Your other questions, I'll refer to the Director.
Thank you, James. Just one little more clarification on the cost part of it. Adopting this plan doesn't change our costs. We're already maintaining these facilities. So there is no parcel of land within this plan that we don't currently look after. We already look after all of these. Regarding commentary around the RSL, until or unless this plan is adopted, council is unable to enter into a long-term lease with anyone. So we have short-term licences, which is possibly why the RSL Club isn't mentioned, because it is not legal for us to issue a lease at the moment. That's why we've got the 1 year short-term licences, which we've done with the Golf Club and the Jockey Club, the two main users of that. In terms of timeline, this started back in 2020. And it's sat with the Minister for a number of years, so things do shift over that time frame. This plan would not necessarily commit us to doing any of those capital improvements that are identified in there, so obviously we've got multiple plans that we would look at and we have to budget for it. So the fact that it may be stated here something we may do is an indication of how we might look to manage the land rather than what we will absolutely go and do. And we'll try and fix the typo between the Golf Club and Gold Club.
Yeah, Gold Club.
Yeah.
Who's in the Gold Club?
Maybe not very good.
Right, Mr. Councillor Kane.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, that explanation makes better sense to the end now, why I can see there is a manner of asset performance tables, which clearly shows these capital works. I can see now if federal or state funding comes up, I can see you can throw a document and say, here, this is what we're doing. That makes much better, and also makes sense why I can't see their name mentioned anywhere if we haven't got all this stuff. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Anyone else wishing to speak for Councillor Robinson?
Yeah, like, it's in our own interest to this local government area to promote and improve those sort of infrastructure things. Like, you know, $10 for a game of golf is extremely low. You go to Tamworth or Sydney, you know, you nearly got to, you know, put up a paycheck for some of those things. It's a great little course. Like, we have to give them, and we also give other sporting groups, you know, things have to be subsidised to a point, just to keep it in the area. Like, if it has to fold and it comes back to us, everyone loses. So, thank you.
Yeah, I don't think it's that cheap to play a game of golf out there in the short
No,
end.
no, $10.
I don't think it is, John. But anyway, so I played the odd game. But anyway, it's part of the deal. Anyone else wishing to speak for or against the motion? If not, all in favour? Against? Councillor Lawson out for a second. Do we just count that as a no? Absent. Thank you very much. Carried. Let's see. 8.3, adoption of draft asset management plans. The recommendation. Can I just have a move? Do I have a motion for the recommendation, please? Councillor Kane. Seconder, please. Councillor Robinson. Does the member wish to speak to the motion?
No, Mr Mayor.
Anyone else wishing to speak for or against the motion?
No, thank you.
I don't think Donna's got an issue about this.
It's not as long as it gets passed.
Not too well.
No, it's wasn't
wait for a second.
Hang on a minute.
It's back.
Yep.
You right? No? Really? Good. 8.3, adoption of the draft. We've got a move and second. Do you want to speak for or against the motion in any way? If not, all in favour, please? Against? Carried unanimously. Thank you. 8.4.
Ma'am, is there excuse for this 8.5?
Oh, sorry, yep. Councillor Kane is leaving the room, please. 8.4, SPT 132526BSC, provision of control systems support. Recommendation to Council. 1, adopt the suppliers listed below to be appointed to this contract as panel source suppliers to Liverpool Plains High Council for an initial period of 36 months from the 1st of July 2025 to the 30th of June 2028. A, 360 Engineering, B, Alliance Automation, and C, Safe Group Automation, and 2, provision be allowed for a 12-month extension based on satisfactory supplier performance, which may take this contract through to the 30th of June 2029. Do I have a motion? Councillor Robinson, seconder please. Councillor Cowan, thank you. Does the member wish to speak to the motion?
No, thank you, Mr Mayor.
Anyone else wish to speak for or against the motion? If not, all in favour? Against? Carried. Chief, back in please. Eight point five, local traffic committee. Meeting the 10th of June 2025, the recommendation of Council 1 endorse the minutes of the local traffic committee meeting held on the 10th of June 2025 as appended at Banning. Do I have a move? Do I have a motion? Councillor Robinson. Seconder, please. Councillor Cowan, thank you. Does the member wish to speak to the motion?
Yes, thank you.
Councillor Robinson.
Councillor Allen put forward about the speed limit through Pine Ridge and what's happened with that accident the other week. Will that give it any more power to try and lower that limit through Pine Ridge?
The General Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So the speed limit was investigated in Pine Ridge. There is no evidence from Transport that it's ever been an 80km/h zone. They have always had it listed as a 100km/h zone. So I don't believe that accident would change that position. They've got a very strict set of guidelines that they work to, so it's unlikely that that accident would change that position on that speed zone area.
Just that there's been several accidents that I can remember at that bridge. Like, all right, if the locals know, but a lot of people just disregard the giveaway sign.
Just my personal view, I think at the moment, it's back to 50 k's. It's just, all we're doing is inviting the police to stand down there. It's been 100 k's all my life, and all of a sudden we're going to change it back to 50. 80 is fine, but 50, you're just going to, you'll email a policeman to stand out there all day and make a fortune. So I'm not quite sure why it's 50 if it was meant to be 80, anyway.
It's 80.
No, it's 50. It's 50 k signs up at the moment.
Side streets.
No, they're on
No.
the highway. They are. They are. As you come into Pine Ridge, basically, just past the haulage one and just before or just after the turn off to Warren, it's 50 k's in. And the locals aren't happy, happy for 80 k's because people have been looking for that for a long time, but it's 50 k's at the moment. And when you go past the hall, it goes to 100, and then all of a sudden, 50 yards past that, we're back to 60 because we're going to go across the bridge. It doesn't have one side. So, yeah, 50 k's is ridiculous. 80 k's, everyone's happy with. Yeah, I'll leave it up to the GM to discuss. Can we, you want to, Councillor Lawson?
I only drove that road less than a week ago, so I'm not sure if something's changed since then, but it was 100 kilometres an hour all the way through. But to be honest, it does feel very fast considering the proximity of the buildings to the road there. I think 80 would be in line with similar places like Breezer. But yeah, I don't know where these 50 signs are because they weren't there when I drove through the other day. Thank you.
They're there now, so I just want to end this the other day before. They're there, trust me. But anyway, we'll get someone to have a look at it, but Councillor Robinson.
As we are approved, are we able to put in a judgment that we think that something should change as elected officials of the area?
I don't really understand what you're talking about.
Well, like, if we all say, how about, can you look at this extensively on lowering the limit to 80 k's, do we give them any more weight than just a one or two in the traffic committee for changes?
Through the GM, I think Nathan will explain that.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. No, so RMS have their very clear, stringent guidelines to make sure that speed zones are consistent across the entirety of the state. So a submission from the council will be treated the same as a submission from anyone else that wanted to put one in there. From the information that was received, it's highly unlikely it would change from the current legislative environment. From what they explained to me, it does not meet the requirements to have a reduced speed limit.
Anyone else wishing to speak? Councillor Kane first.
Mr Mayor, I'd just like to thank the Director, Mr Scully, and our other representative, because I can see item number 4, Werris Creek commercial area has got a little bit of a mention. So, with any luck, the change of the parking, and as we discussed earlier, that maybe some speed mitigation improvements may actually just slow that traffic down if we can't get the full support. It says that they will consider, or anyone is going to consider, it's a hope for the community, but I do thank the director for taking it on note after I gave councillors some documentation regarding the camp and of course the ongoing concerns of the community. On one little note, which is quite ironic, regarding our concerns for speed and the lack of a foot crossing. Last Wednesday, Services New South Wales were actually in town, as they do the community, with a couple of buses, mobile homes, etc. Set up in the park, which is on the western side of our main street. I went over just as a courtesy to say good day and see how things were going, and without any prompting, the comment was made how dangerous and how busy the roadway was, with some of the staff assisting some elderly people to the footpaths and the walk through the cars to cross the road. So it's quite ironic that a government body using the area also realised that the busyness of the street also creates another issue, that you now have people walking out in front of a car that's now parked 45 degrees into traffic. So it was just ironic that it happened. I certainly didn't mention it, I certainly didn't raise it, but I said yes, the street is very busy. But I do thank our director and our representative for raising the issue, and fingers crossed that we can get something achieved for some speed mitigation somehow, and some better traffic calming devices in that main street. So thank you.
Thank you, councillor Kane. Anyone else wishing to speak? Councillor Sharp, councillor Lawson.
I was just wondering why the changes discussed for Nowlan Street have dropped off the Madison Rising from previous minutes. I don't see any mention of it there, so just wondering what's happening with that. Thank you.
The general manager.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, so there was, at this stage we've been working through the design as resources are available within my team. So we had some draft designs done up for it, but they weren't at the stage that we could take it to the traffic committee for more detailed endorsement. And then following that, we would have to seek funding for those works, because at the moment within our budget we don't consider funding for new crossings such as that. So we have to seek an opportunity through a grant through Transport for New South Wales is the most likely location to get a grant for it.
Councillor Lawson.
Just thank you for that update. That's fine if it hasn't progressed at this stage, but it would be good if we could have something, some sort of register, or just the fact that it's mentioned in there as a continuing item, so that we don't lose track of it would be great. Just coming back, sorry, to the thing at Pine Ridge, I noticed like under General Business 6 that from what the director's told us, that Transport for New South Wales basically said that speed limit will stay at 100, yet you say there's signs gone up. So we probably need to address what's happened there.
Maybe.
Yeah, so council's put up some signs for the road to reduce the speed as a result of the damage to the guardrail on the bridge. So they're temporary roadwork signs, roadworks contains.
Right, councillor Lawson. Everyone right?
Yeah.
Anyone else wishing to speak for or against the motion?
Is one of your personalities want to speak?
If not, all in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. 9 delegates reports nil. 10 notice of motion, questions of notice nil. 11 confidential matters. The recommendation that council considers the confidential reports listed below in a meeting closed to the public in accordance with section 10A2 of the Local Government Act of 1993. 11.1, a bad debt write-off, rates, charges and sundry debtors. This matter is considered to be confidential under section 10A-2-B of the Local Government Act, and the council is satisfied that discussion of this matter in an open meeting would, on balance, be contrary to the public interest as it deals with discussion in relation to personal hardship of a resident or a ratepayer. Do I have a motion, please? Councillor Lawson, seconded. Councillor Kane. All in favour? Against? Carried unanimously. The report on confidential matters. 11.1 bad debt write-off, rates, charges and sundry debtors. The recommendation of Council 1 authorise the write-off of bad debts, 2,148.46 being 921.59 from rates and water charges for postponed rates, 148.15 from small debt write-offs, and 1,078.72, including GST, from general user charges at Annexure A. The resolution was unanimous. Thank you very much. The meeting closed at 3:54. Thank you very much, troops.
Ken, I must say, it's,